Get a load of this guy. Welcome SmugStick, it's everyone, to part 2 of What If Bardock was sent into the future. Previously, Bardock was propelled into the future, found by Bobbity and Deborah. Though he was tormented by the Majins, he was also used, taking advantage of his lack of memories. On Earth, he came face to face with Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta, and though he didn't recognize them, he felt a connection to them, taking the chance to kill Deborah and escape. The hero spared Majin Buu, taking him to the Kaioshin realm to live with Goku, while Bardock ventured into the wilderness, surviving alone. One night, he looked at the full moon and turned into an Ozaru, being found by Android 17 and being left on Monster Island, before waking up the next morning, confused as how he got there. But there's two others looking for him, Trunks and Goten, wondering just who this new Saiyan is. The like goal for this video is 4,000 likes, and the next part is already up on Patreon. Let's begin. When Bardock wakes up on Monster Island, he realizes his armor is completely destroyed. He's alone in a place he doesn't recognize. With no option, he has to hunt. He sneaks around a weird ox, but suddenly it runs off as several small blue creatures attack Bardock. They're surprisingly strong. In reality, they are Cell Juniors, placed here by Android 17, as explained in the Dragonball Super manga. Bardock transforms into a Super Saiyan and tells them to bring it on, and though he does okay at first, he realizes the amount of Cell Juniors are just too much for him. Suddenly, two blasts come down from the sky, pushing away the creatures. Super Saiyan Goten and Super Saiyan Trunks have arrived. They help Bardock, though he says he doesn't need their help. He doesn't recognize them at first, but on second glance, he realizes these are the kids that were at the side of Bobbity's ship when he escaped. The word Kakarot left his lips again, before being snapped out of it as Goten and Trunks fuse into Gotenks. Goku had begun teaching them the fusion dance before he left to Otherworld, and after much practice, they're getting the hang of it, though it's not exactly perfect. Even so, they got it this time, and finally they're able to push back the Cell Juniors little by little. Bardock is surprised to see just how powerful these kids are, before starting to walk away. But Gotenks runs up to him and starts pulling on him, asking him various questions. Who was he? Why did he look like Goku? Was he a Saiyan? What are Saiyans like? Bardock was getting more and more annoyed, but the kids did help him. So instead of telling them off, he just sat down to eat and ignored Gotenks. Eventually the fusion just started to wander around, pet animals and things like that. When they defused, they returned to Bardock, finding him taking a nap. They placed a bowl of fruits by his side and left. The reason Goten and Trunks have been able to find Bardock is because they were specifically looking for him. Ever since Goten met Bardock's glance, he's been wondering about that Saiyan. He looked just like his father and there was clearly some kind of connection. So the following days after Goku's departure, Goten and Trunks have been playing around but always keeping an eye out on that Saiyan. All Goten's idea. Vegeta and Gohan also wonder what happened to him, though they don't care as much and have better things to worry about. If he causes trouble, they'll come find him. When Bardock wakes up and finds the bowl of fruit, he smirks and begins eating. The following day, Goten and Trunks arrive again and continue to pester him about the Saiyans. Bardock says that he doesn't actually know anything. He knows now that he is a Saiyan, but he doesn't really know what they are. Still, he continues to stare at Goten, as the young kid asks him if he's his uncle or something. Goten is sad. That's why he wanted to fight him. When he sensed his Super Saiyan energy, he was excited. He didn't get to spend too much time with his father, and he reminded him so much of him that he kinda wanted to just see what he was made of. They wanted to train, or something. Bardock was getting really annoyed at the kids, but he obliges and helps them train together. And so, the three of them begin to train. Bardock is impressed at just how powerful these kids are, though they are sloppy. Though Trunks has had some proper training, Goten needs a lot more work. The day passes, but Goten and Trunks continue to return day by day, missing a few here and there. Trunks also starts to bring food and capsules to Bardock, giving him a small place to stay, though he realizes they're probably not supposed to be there. They've heard rumors about a park ranger. Either way, Goten is excited to tell his brother all about what he's been doing, but Trunks tells him not to. He was a bad guy before. Vegeta and Gohan would probably want to arrest him or something. Goten agrees to stay quiet. 17 thinks poachers have been coming to the island because of all the stuff they've left. He keeps a lookout, while Bardock continues to move around with a capsule home. The monkey also disappeared somehow. Maybe the poachers got him. Goten and Trunks are slowly getting stronger and fighting more like Bardock. Bardock. And so, a year passes by, with Goten and Trunks keeping it all a secret. 17 did eventually discover them and allowed them to continue as long as Bardock didn't kill any more animals, and they would have to wear a ranger badge. The kids were terrified of 17, but recognized him as 18's brother. He would keep their secret. If they caused any trouble, he would have to tell their parents. Eventually, the day for Mr. Satan to open a hotel arrived. Even King Kai, Boo, and Goku were there. A day on Earth thanks to Uranai Baba. The Z fighters were all gathered together when Chi-Chi noticed Goten and Trunks had disappeared. In reality, they were flying food over to Bardock. Since they didn't know his name, they nicknamed him Tarzan. Once they arrived, Bardock instantly ate some meat, but realized that Goten and Trunks didn't leave. They were waiting for a quick match. Bardock rolled his eyes, telling them that he doesn't want to ruin those nice clothes, but they showed that they're wearing their gi underneath. Bardock burst into Super Saiyan and a fight starts. Unknown to them, a pair of battle pods just crash-landed in a nearby island, and the scouter was looking for the strongest power levels, finding Bardock, Goten, and Trunks. Once he arrives, Tarble is surprised to see other Saiyans besides Vegeta, but he knows Abo and Kato are on their way. With this strange Super Saiyan form, they'll be able to take them on, even if he is afraid. Bardock can't help but keep his eyes completely on Tarble. He wore armor similar to his. He had a tail. Maybe he could explain more. But before he got a chance to ask, Tarble continued to explain. Abo and Kato were incredibly powerful. If they can find Vegeta, they'll be able to take them on, but they have to be careful. Abo and Kato are as strong as Frieza. Bardock's heart sinks, and he falls back down into base. That name echoed in his mind, ringing over and over, getting flashes of his last moments on planet Vegeta, seeing a woman he barely recognized. Who was she? Goten and Trunks tried to help him, but just then, Abo and Kato appeared. Goten and Trunks want to show that they're heroes and step up to the fight, bursting into Super Saiyan and beginning a fight against Abo and Kato. But when Abo and Kato fuse into Akka, things take a turn for the worse. Thanks to that power burst, however, the Z fighters sense the fight going on and go check it out. They arrive to see Gotenks fighting Akka, while Bardock keeps his eyes completely still on the battle pod they had arrived in, his mind racing to that name, Frieza, over and over again. His eyes shift from the scouters to the pods to the armor. He knows those are all connected somehow, but can't remember how. When Goku lands with the other Z fighters, he meets eyes with Bardock. Goku is ready to fight, thinking that Bardock is still the evil Saiyan from long ago, but Bardock doesn't move. He just continues to stare. Goku is confused. He didn't know this guy was still around. Vegeta also wonders about him, but what catches Bardock's attention the most is Piccolo. He was being overwhelmed by all these people surrounding him, but all that he could actually focus on was Goku and the Namekian. Slowly, things start to calm down as he looks at Piccolo, a Namekian he met a long time ago from planet Cereal. He didn't know why, he didn't know how. He couldn't remember his family, he couldn't remember his world, but he could remember saving someone, and that Namekian that helped him make a wish. He could help him remember his old life. As Gotenks was knocked back and Goku had to step up to defeat Akka, Gohan tried to help Bardock up, but he pushed him off. Goten, Goku, Vegeta, Tarble, and Gohan were all staring at him. He felt those stares piercing through his heart. He knew he had a connection to all these people, but until he remembered his life, he couldn't face them. He looked at Goten and whispered, "I'll see you." Goten was hurt as Bardock made his way into Abo's pod and blasted off. Everyone was confused as 17 finally arrived on Monster Island to see the chaos. What? Goten and Trunks were here? No way. Hi, 18. That night, Goten and Trunks had to explain everything they've been doing. The training with Bardock, giving him food and all that. Chi-Chi and Bulma reprimanded them, while Vegeta continues to think alongside Goku, turning to him and telling him that somehow he thinks that man is related to him. Low-class Saiyans do look alike, so it could be a distant cousin, but judging by the way he's been acting, Vegeta thinks it could be more than that. He spent a long time with Raditz, Goku's brother, and he heard all about his family. He isn't sure, but it could be his father. Everyone is in complete shock. There's no way that can be true. How could he still be alive? Vegeta says it's just a theory. It could be wrong, but from what he remembers Raditz describing, it is the truth. Goku isn't sure how he feels about this situation, but it's clear that that man was confused and lost. Wherever he was going, it was probably best to leave him alone for now. Goku didn't belong in this world anymore. he had to return to the afterlife. But from time to time, he would ask King Kai to check in on him. Bardock chooses the planet, Cereal. He had trouble in the ship at first, but slowly it became second nature. In a matter of a few days, he makes it to planet Cereal, landing on a main city, scaring civilians as he stumbles out and tries to find the Namekian, asking everyone around for a green person until finally someone terrified tells him about a Namekian who lives on the mountains. Bardock slams the door open as the Namekian Monito jumps back, his eyes widening as he instantly recognizes him. Bardock. Bardock took slow steps towards the Namekian, placing his hands on his shoulder. He recognized him. He knew he was a figure from his past. That name, Bardock, meant little to him, but he knew it belonged to him. That was already progress. Moving his hands from his shoulders to his collar, he yells at him, saying, "You know me, don't you? Who am I?" Before Monito can say anything, however, a shot bursts past Bardock's ear, making him bleed. Granolah had arrived. He tells Bardock to let go of Monito, as the tale makes him realize that it's a Saiyan. Bardock is left in shock, just staring at the Cerealian. That was a boy he saved a long time ago. "Saiyan, here to finish the job?" Bardock and Granolah fight, nearly destroying the entire house, as Granolah pushes him through a wall. The Cerealian has a few good tricks as they fly through the forest, using an environment he's familiar with for his advantage, hiding between trees to snipe at Bardock. The Saiyan actually appreciated this. He was clearly a good fighter, but he didn't have time for this. He came to remember things, not to fight, bursting into Super Saiyan, appearing before Granolah and kneeing him in the stomach. Bardock spits at the ground as he starts to walk away. Granolah asks why he doesn't just kill him. "I don't even know who you are." Monito runs out, telling them to stop. He has something to show Bardock. He doesn't know much about him, but perhaps listening to this will help, telling Granolah that it was finally time to reveal something to him. Granolah hates it, but allows it, as Oatmeal plugs himself into the scouter and reveals the audio. Upon seeing the scouter, Bardock touches it, getting a vision, one of Granolah this time. Indeed, he did know him. Bardock listens in, as they realize that Granolah had been saved by Bardock long ago. He fought Gas, a member of the Heaters family, a band of space pirates who now own a planet trade organization, filling the void for Frieza. Bardock may even have made a wish on the Dragonballs. This wish, those words, were what made Bardock remember it all, as he said, "I guess I'd wish for my sons to thrive." Bardock gasps. The boy he met on Earth, that was one of his sons. That was Kakarot. He falls to his knees. After so long without his memories, he can finally remember his family. Not just Kakarot, but Guinea and Raditz as well. Holding his face, he asked what happened. Monito and Granolah gulp, as they reveal to him what little they know. Planet Vegeta had been destroyed a long time ago. This cleared Bardock's mind, remembering that final death ball. That was the last thing he saw. He didn't know everyone had died. But why was he alive? Was this part of the curse? Cursed to not only see the death of his race, but to be one of the only survivors. Cursed to remember a civilization that no longer existed. A lone warrior. Taking a deep breath, Bardock asks about Frieza. Granolah reveals that he's been defeated. Whispers said that it could have been a Saiyan, or maybe a Namekian. He wasn't sure that defeated him, though others have risen in his place. Bardock takes a seat to let it all sink in. Frieza was actually dead, but how? As he smirked, he began to recall a vision prior to being plunged into this strange future. He had seen Kakarot facing Frieza in a lush green planet. Could it be that it was him? The man he saw on Earth, that young kid. They reminded him so much of his son. But what about Raditz? Part of him felt guilty. Why had he gotten to survive? Not Guinea, not his squad. He clenched his fist so hard that blood began to pour. He stood up and thanked them all, getting ready to leave. Monito offered him a place to stay for the night, and Bardock accepted. He wasn't in the right mind to go anywhere else. Granolah had a hard time accepting that Bardock had saved him, and the following morning, as Bardock went out to hunt, Granolah stopped him and told him that Monito made breakfast. The Saiyan asked where he was going, with Granolah saying that he's heading out on a bounty hunting job for the Heaters. Bardock was taken aback. Having just listened to the scouter, the Heaters, those were the guys he fought in order to save Granolah. Elec killed his mother. Why is he still going to work for them? Granolah hated it and swore to bring them down one day, but he just wasn't strong enough to defeat them as is. Gaz was just too powerful, and he needs to make money somehow. It was a depressing sight, a look of someone who knew nothing else but this life. Granolah departed, and Bardock Bardock was left watching the ship fly by. Something bothered him. That kid, someone he risked his life to save, was living under the rule of those who killed his mother. It was strange. He'd never felt guilty for what he did as a soldier, but this planet, this civilization, that boy, they shared a similar fate to planet Vegeta. Granolah and his mother reminded him of Kakarot and Gine. He tried to shake it off, but he couldn't. At Elek's castle, Granolah was given a new assignment, but his ears were ringing out of pure rage as he listened. It was obvious. Elek asked,
"Are you listening, Granolah, or would you rather me give this job to Soshiru?"
The whole time he was listening, he thought he could just be calm, but the more Elek talked, the more angry he got. In a flash, he burst forward and threw a punch at him, only for it to be caught and pushed back by Gas. He tried again, but Gas brought him down to the ground. Elek walked up to him, with his weapon pointed at his head. Maki was surprised to see this reaction.
"You've always been such a good boy, Granolah. Why act up now?"
"I know what you did, you bastard. You killed my mother."
"I've killed many mothers. I don't often spare their children. You should feel lucky. But how did you find out?"
Granolah roared and exploded in power, actually pushing back Gas for a split second. He wiped some blood off his lip, analyzing the room and buying time. As he explained, he had met the Saiyan who saved him. The Saiyan who defeated Gas, Bardock. Gas's eyes widened, couldn't believe it. No way Granolah was telling the truth. In an instant, Gas transformed into his monstrous form, jumping at Granolah and attacking him severely. Granolah couldn't defend himself, but he had analyzed the room, shooting at the ceiling and the windows to bring it down and force Gas to protect his family. As the extremely hurt Granolah fled, Gas wanted to pursue, but Elek told him to let him go. What really worried him is that Granolah was able to push him back. It's clear that he's growing stronger. He ordered Gas to take training more seriously from now on. If a Saiyan is involved, then perhaps they could be in deeper trouble. If rumors are true, one of them defeated Frieza. That night, as Bardock and Monito had a heart-to-heart about Bardock's place in this universe, and whether or not it was time to return to Earth and confront his son, Granolah stumbled through the door and into the floor. Bardock and Monito showed up to help him and nurse him back to health. When he regained consciousness, he explained, "It had been stupid. He shouldn't have attacked. He shouldn't even have faced them so soon after finding out." Bardock stepped outside after hearing this, angrily knocking a chair down as he did. Monito went after him as Granolah slept, and they discussed. Monito asked him what he'd do, and Bardock said that he didn't know what he was talking about. This was not his battle, but at the same time, he didn't want to go to Earth. Monito agreed, but this is exactly what he was talking about before. Unfinished business. Why had he ended up in a position like this? Why was he a survivor when he was the one most directly in contact with the death ball? Perhaps this is all his destiny. Bardock scoffed at the idea of destiny. No, he had already saved that kid once. That was enough. He just needed to find a place for himself. Monito resigned to be by Granolah's side as Bardock went to bed. The next morning, Bardock prepared to leave, but he was surprised to find Granolah already up, bandaged up, but training nonetheless. Bardock watched from afar. He was good, but a little sloppy, clearly lacked necessary training. No wonder Gas defeated him. As he packed things into his ship, he kept getting distracted by him, until finally, Bardock walked up to Granolah with his arms crossed, coaching him just a little bit, even when the Cerulean said that he didn't need any help.
"I'm not giving you any help, kid. I'm just loudly judging you."
Granolah rolled his eyes, but slowly he listened to what Bardock said, actually improving little by little. And by the time they stopped, it was already too late for Bardock to leave. They kept on denying it, but every time Monito went outside, Granolah and Bardock were training. The Cerulean even thinks of wishing on the Dragon Balls to be stronger, but Bardock says that that's really lame. They should train together instead. Get strong enough to defeat them. Granolah agrees. And so, the two begin their training. Granolah is extremely aggressive, but Bardock understands why. In fact, he uses that as encouragement for his training. He would taunt Granolah, telling him that his race is weak, that that's why they all died. Granolah was enraged and slowly began to do better, until the point where he was able to pin down Bardock against the tree. Keyball pointed at his neck. "Your race died too. Were they weak?" Bardock stood in silence.
"Yes."
The Saiyan burst into Super Saiyan, the tree behind him exploding as Granolah fell on his back.
"But I'm not."
They continued like this for weeks on end, months even. Monito was worried, but he did see a change between the two. At the same time, he could also read Bardock. That Saiyan wasn't ready to confront his son yet, and so he faced Granolah instead. Someone who did remind him of his son. Someone he also saved. Granolah grew a lot stronger, and so did Bardock, as with every training session he attempted wanted to achieve that Super Saiyan 2 state. One day of training, as Bardock got ready to end with a riot javelin, Granolah was able to precisely shoot at Bardock's arm, forcing the blast off into the sky and getting a chance to slam Bardock into the ground. The Saiyan was proud, and it was clear that they were ready. The heaters would be taken down. A bit more time went by, but finally Granolah felt ready. He was confident that all the training with the Super Saiyan had given him enough power to take down Elec and Gas. He would avenge his mother and free all those planets ruled by the shadows left behind by Frieza. He asked Bardock to come, but he once again denied it. This wasn't his battle anymore, it was Granolah's, but he was confident in him. As they shook hands, Bardock couldn't help but see his son in Granolah's face. He shook it off. He couldn't get involved. Monito was worried as they waved Granolah off. Unbeknownst to him, they weren't alone. Soshiru, a fellow bounty hunter to Granolah, had been tasked by the heaters with spying on the Saiyan. His binoculars zoomed into Bardock as he knew it was time to move. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and a special thank you to the channel supporters, who get to watch videos like this and the next episode on Patreon. And if you're looking for more Dragon Ball content, be sure to check out my latest video on how I believe the Dragon Ball Super manga is better.